Hello, everyone. It's Nigel Seeley here, and it's another edition of Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, number one tennis betting podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. It's week two of the Asian swing, and fresh from a winning week last week, and a good start to this week. I've got our senior ATP Tour handicapper, Sean Calvert. Good morning to you, Sean.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Very well, actually. Very well indeed. I feel quite good. Looking forward to the Ryder Cup this week. I'm really looking forward to that.
When does that start?
Starts tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
Head to the Bet Rivers website. There's a whole host of specials there. And also on our Instagram and our Twitter account. Lots of good bets for myself, Dan Roebuck, and Simon Holden. We walked around the golf course, played a little bit of golf, and gave some wagers. Yeah, lovely day. It was beautiful.
Very nice indeed. I knew it was on, but I wasn't obviously sure when it was on. I'm kind of immersed in tennis, so I don't get a chance to look at any other sports. Not that often, maybe not during the tennis season, anyway.
Well, we had nothing's really been going on. We had a winner, though, didn't we? We had a nice winner of Manarino.
Yes.
He's through to the next round. So nothing's really been going on in the last few days. It's been very slow.
It's been a really peculiar start, hasn't it? Because we spoke on, it was sort of latish on Tuesday night, wasn't it? And I hadn't seen the schedule then, but what they did on Wednesday, it's a Wednesday to Tuesday, but they spent the whole of Wednesday just finishing the qualies, and there was only like 4 matches. You know, they could have played some round one match. What they normally do is finish the qualies and have a selection of round one matches as well on that same day, but they didn't do that. And so the first matches have only just been played in the last few hours here. We've only got 4 players through to the second round at the minute in Beijing, and it's supposed to have started on Wednesday. So it's a bit of a slow start, really. But that's why we've got this opportunity actually to look at a lot more of the first round matches that we didn't have time to look at on Tuesday.
Yeah, look at these matches indeed. We're going to look at these all first round matches in Beijing. We've got 6 matches in total we're going to look about here. There's obviously a whole host more of them. It's a good matchups. Head to the Bet Rivers websites. It's an ATP Tour 500 event, and there's some really nice matches. You would expect them to be quarterfinals or maybe last 16 matches, not first round matches. Some really, really good matchups here. Before we go on to the matchups, you watching the tennis? What are the conditions like? Is it as hot as we expected? Is it the conditions fast or like pretty slow, or how do we see it?
I think it's a kind of medium paced court. It's a Deco Turf outdoor hard court. It's not the quickest. It's not the slowest. By the looks of things, they're using head tour balls, which are slightly slower than the Wilson ones. They're actually using Wilson ones in Astana this year. They keep changing the balls there. In theory, that should make Astana a little bit quicker, but I don't think it has. It still looks pretty slow. But as far as this is concerned, Beijing, I'd say medium-ish during the day. I'd say medium slow at night when it gets, a bit colder. As far as the weather's concerned, it's tomorrow. Let's just look at tomorrow. It's going to be about 27 degrees and sunny, so quite a pleasant day to play tennis. Nothing like the humidity of Zhuhai last week. It's only going to get up to around sort of 35-40% humidity, whereas Zhuhai was over double that last week. So the conditions are pleasant. I would say it would play sort of medium-ish during the day and sort of medium slow in the evening.
Right, the first match we're going to talk about is the number 1 seed here and the number 2 in the world, the Wimbledon champion, Carlos Alcaraz. He's up against Yannick Hanfmann. He's a very heavy favourite, is the Spaniard. He's minus 5,000 with Bet Rivers. Yannick Hanfmann is plus 1,600. The spread here is 6.5. Alcaraz giving up 6.5 is plus 105. Hanfmann receiving 6.5, the favourite minus 134. The total is 18.5, which does seem a little bit low because when they've played once before, they haven't played on the main tour before. They played in a challenger in Seville on clay in 2019. And obviously Alcaraz isn't the player of the proposition he is now than he was then. But that was a 7-6, 7-6 win for Alcaraz with the total games coming at 26. Do you think that Alcaraz has it all his own way? Or do you think Hanfmann can trouble the number 1 seed?
I think he can on his best form. Alcaraz has never played China before, so we'll see how his motivation is. He's talked about the end of year number 1 being his goal. We'll see about that. Hanfmann against top 10 opponents, 4-13 win-loss, beating Monfils, Tsitsipas, Rublev and Fritz. So his best form is decent. Perhaps the Davis Cup revitalized him because he's had a poor spell, Hanfmann, of 6 losses in a row since Gestard. Qualified nicely here. Hasn't dropped a set. Does have the weapons on his day to be competitive, but scheduling, the late match, as I said earlier, the conditions are slower at night, so that is kind of off-putting a little bit, really. I took a look at Alcaraz in his opening match in best of 3-set tournaments in 2023. with specific regard to the overs. Over 18.5 games 6 times, under 18.5 games 4 times. So he has been taken past that overs mark more often than not in his opening match of best of 3. So possibilities for Hanfmann here. Hanfmann against top 10 players in best of 3 set matches in his career. Only lost once in 18 games or fewer in 8 career matches. So, given his strong serve and the fact that it's a new tournament for Alcaraz, Hanfmann's come through qualies very, very well, holding serve 19 times out of 20 against decent opposition in Lajovic and Kecmanovic. I would say if you're betting in this match, it's the overs does look the best option. Night match isn't ideal. I would have preferred a day match for Hanfmann, really, but the lean here, I would say over 18.5 games plus money. I think, it was plus money earlier on when I looked at Bet Rivers.
Yeah, it is. I quite like that as well. I think he's going to take him a little bit of time to get used to conditions. He obviously hasn't played here. It's plus 102 over 18.5 against an opponent who, admittedly, was 4 years ago, has given him some problems before. Just to show you the how competitive and what a good field this is. This is the first round match we're going to talk about next. It's 20 past 3 in the morning scheduled, so it's an early 10 past 3, so it's an early match. It's carrying Khachanov, the winner last week in Zhuhai, who beat our pick Nishiokai in the final. He's up against Lorenzo Musetti. Now, that is a first-round match in a ATP Tour 500 event. 2 players in the top 20 of the world. Talking about conditions here, this one, if it's quick, you've got to fancy Khachanov. If it's slow, you've got to fancy Musetti. Khachanov is the favourite, minus 162. Musetti is plus 130. They've never met before, which is surprising. Never met before. The spread is 1.5. Musetti receiving 1.5 start evens. Khachanov minus 129, giving up 1.5. And a total a lot higher in this one, as you would expect, 22.5. But Khachanov is coming on the back of a tournament win. I know it's in Asia. I know it's in the same country, but it's still taken a lot out of him in very, very hot conditions to get that win. But the conditions are going to be key here, aren't they, Sean, in this one?
Yeah, well, a condition of Khachanov, I think, is going to be key. How has he recovered from that Zhuhai match? I would say the evidence is probably okay because he played doubles today with Rublev. You wouldn't have thought it'd enter the doubles if he was shattered. Musetti didn't look particularly well in his last match against Safilin, complained of blurred vision. Didn't look great against Rinderknecht or Sekulic either. Musetti hasn't been in the best of form lately. On form, you'd expect Khachanov to win this, but I am worried about his kind of physicality, having played only one tournament really in 3 months, apart from that one match at the US Open. How's his body holding up after that Zhuhai tough week? As I say, the fact that he's played doubles, I think, is a positive. But the last 12 months stats on outdoor hard at main level, nothing in it really. Khachanov, 71% win rate and a 106 service points won, return points won total. Musetti has the same total and a 62% win rate. So not a lot in it on those stats. Not a lot in it on the whole break stats either. Khachanov, 110 service hold and break total. Musetti, 109. So only 1 point in it really. So stats wise, it's pretty close. But I think the matchup might be a favourable one for Khachanov. He has a very, very solid double-handed backhand, likely to outlast the Musetti single-hander, which is prone, obviously, to more errors, being that kind of flashy one-hander that he does have. Initially, I think the prices have moved on this, haven't they? Because Khachanov was bigger than this when I first looked at this match, and I was quite tempted to back Khachanov, but he's come down to about, 1.67 or something like that now?
Yeah, minus 162.
Yeah, it's just a little bit short. I was tempted to back Khachanov, but that price isn't big enough now, based on the stats that I just said, and based on the fact that we don't know really how Khachanov's going to be after that tough week in Zhuhai. The lean is Khachanov, but I want a slight. I'm maybe being a bit greedy, but I think I want a slightly better price based on those stats.
You might get it though, Sean, because looking at the latest money, the money's actually now coming from Musetti. Musetti seems to be being quite popular in support at plus 130. I think that plus 130 is going to be under pressure. That's the best price in the world currently with Bet Rivers on Musetti. So if you want a bigger price for Khachanov, I think you may get it come closer to the match start in the early hours of Friday morning. What price would you want to bet him at if he got back?
I could certainly go maybe 1.8. 1.8 definitely. I think I probably would, but I'm just looking at the result.
You might be generous there. You're not going to get that. You might get
175 maybe
136. I think you might get, but I think the line might come back in Khachanov's anti-Khachanov. I think the money will definitely come from the city. It's a standout price, that plus 130. So, if you do want to bet Khachanov, wait till the closer to time, I think.
I was just looking at the doubles result. They did win, actually, Khachanov and Rublev in the doubles against the Chinese pair. But I didn't see the match. So maybe people saw something in that Khachanov match that I obviously didn't see. So that's a possibility as well. Maybe you looked a bit, I don't know, maybe he had some sort of physical problem in that match. I don't know, but something to think about.
They both is going to be as bad as one another, I think. Here, I think it's all about conditions. If it's really quick, Khachanov, you've got a fancy. If it's a bit slower, then Musetti's got a chance. But obviously, both of them coming from epic weeks, going very deep. Obviously, Khachanov winning the tournament, Musetti getting into the semi-finals. Next match is battle between Grigor Dimitrov against Mackenzie McDonald. Grigor Dimitrov is a heavy favourite, -225. Mackenzie McDonald is +175. The spread here is 3.5. Dimitrov is giving up 3.5. He's +102. And the total, again, is a high. It's 22.5 with under the favourite at -127. These two have met a few times, unlike the other two matches we've spoken about. And it's 2-1. They're head-to-head in Dimitrov's favour. And the last time they met was this year in Washington in very hot conditions, but Dimitrov won 7-6, 6-2. Prior to that, they won in Miami in hot conditions again, and McDonald won 6-1, 6-4. So not really much in the head-to-heads. This one looks, you would favour Dimitrov, but at -225, I won't bet him with your money.
Not even with my money. No, it is a little bit short. As you said, these two have had some pretty good tussles in the past, and the stats of the head-to-head shows how close their matches have actually been in the three meetings they've had, which is all an outdoor hard. McDonald, service points won, return points won, total 99. Dimitrov 101. So slight advantage to Dimitrov, who's won 1% more of the points on serve and 1% more on return. So hardly, anything but a dominant head-to-head or anything approaching that for Dimitrov here. Breaking it down a bit further, Dimitrov's only won 41% of his second serve points in this matchup compared to 52% for McDonald. So big advantage for McDonald in the neutral rallies if you're looking across the stats of all three matches. And in that Washington, D.C. match, the first serve actually of Dimitrov was what did all the damage. He won 86% of his first serve points there. And it was a very, very, I watched that match. It was very, very close first set. It went all the way to a tie break. It was a really tight tie break. Dimitrov, it was a high quality set actually. Dimitrov won it, just edged it, and then all the energy fell out of Mackenzie McDonald. He faded pretty badly after losing that tiebreaker, as players sometimes do when they put a ton of effort into one set and just ended up losing it. As I've said previously, McDonald is always motivated playing in China. He said that many times. He went well again in Zhuhai last week, made the quarters, losing a tight one to eventual champion Khachanov. Dimitrov played pretty well last week in Chengdu before he ran into his nemesis, Zverev, who he loses to every time in the semi-final. So on the matchup, on the fact that I think McDonald, I believe him to be motivated playing in China, Asia generally, and it's an early match, this is, so the conditions should be about as quick as they're ever going to be here. So I quite like the over 20. Well, I like a lot the over 22.5 total games. It was even money with Bet Rivers earlier on. I think that's the spot in this one.
It's still even money. 22.5 is the line, over 22.5. Mackenzie McDonald, Grigor Dimitrov in very, very quick conditions in an early match. 6 a.m. Eastern time is the time that match is scheduled to start. Head to the BetRivers website. 28 different markets available on that match. In a first round ATP Tour 500 event, you will not get any more markets from any other sports book in America than what you will in tennis here with BetRivers. Next match, Alexander Zverev, the aforementioned Alexander Zverev, the nemesis of Grigor Dimitrov. He's up against Diego Schwartzman, and I know last week you were quite impressed with what you saw from Diego Schwartzman coming into the tournament. It was long-lived the hopes of Diego Schwartzman. I didn't live long there, so short-lived. Sorry. Alexander Zverev is -835, a very, very heavy favourite, but he is, won the title last week, and he's coming here playing a lot of tennis, a lot of different conditions, a lot of travelling. Diego Schwartzman is 575. The spread is 5.5. Alexander Zverev is -109, giving it up, and Schwartzman plus -117 plus the 5.5. The total again is low at 19.5. They've met 5 times previously, 3-2, the winning record in favour of Zverev, who's won their last 2 meetings. But the last time they met was in 2020. So in those 3-year period, Diego Schwartzman has certainly gone back. He's dropped outside the top 100, and Alexander Zverev has kicked on with his career here. Overwhelming favourite Zverev. I can't see any way Schwartzman can beat him unless Zverev has a bad day, and that could potentially happen.
Or he's injured, or carrying some sort of injury after Chengdu. Yeah, I mean, contrasting weeks for these two last week, weren't they? Schwartzman, as you said, retired in his Zhuhai opening match. I think he had some sort of stomach ailment against Bolt. And Zverev ended up winning the title. Just about. He was very, very close to not winning it there against Safferland, but he did manage to grind it out in the end. Been a difficult season for Schwartzman, who's now he's down to 133 in the world now. Diego Schwartzman, having begun the year at number 25, so huge drop off for Diego Schwartzman this year. Looking at his stats, you can kind of see why. He's got a 30% win rate this season, and his service points won, return points won total on all surfaces at main level. It's just 95. So not anywhere near the Schwartzman of old generally this season. He still has his moments, but they're few and far between. He's only held serve 67% of the time this season, Schwartzman. He used to kind of offset that by breaking a lot, but he's not even breaking that much anymore either. Contrastingly, Zverev's held serve 85% of the time, so almost 20% more often Zverev is holding serve. Schwartzman also split up with his coach. I'm sure you remember his coach, Juan Ignacio Chela. I'm sure you've seen him play a few times over the years. A couple of weeks ago, those two split up. They've been together for 7 years. They're not great signs, are they, for Diego Schwartzman? As I said, the other show, he did show a bit of spark in UTS in Frankfurt, but that could well be because there's no pressure on it. It's just it's an exhibition match. It's a fun format. It's a kind of a relaxed environment, so you perhaps can play best tennis. But on the tour grind, he's looked by and large a spent force this season, Schwartzman. I can't think that Chela leaving him is a particularly positive sign either. The head-to-head on hard courts, service points won, return points won totals, Zverev 105, Schwartzman 95. So not an overwhelming, not a huge gulf in class between the two over the years. But I think this is all about games because it's been quite a return-oriented matchup over the years, with Zverev winning 44% of return points, Schwartzman winning 39% of return points. Consequently, not one of the 13 sets that they've ever contested has gone past 10 games. So that's an interesting spot for bettors, I think. 8 of Schwartzman's last 9 matches against top 10 opponents have gone under 19.5 games, and only one of those 9 matches has had more than 10 games in the opening set. So it's been all about unders, quick sets. Similar, you would imagine here, assuming Zverev isn't really kind of leggy or carrying injury after Chengdu, which would kind of put me off. So the lean on this one is either under 19.5 total games, or if you can get a price on Zverev winning the opening set 6-3, that would be the two interesting spots for me in this one.
Let's see. Let's get that price. I'm just got to find.
I couldn't see it earlier, so I'm not sure
if we got it. Maybe let's have a look if we got it here. Set one. No, we haven't got. It will be there. I'm sure it'll be there, but at the moment, it's not. We're recording this very early to make sure we get it across to you with the matches, but it's not there at the moment. But Zverev to win the first set 6-3 is the bet for Sean. Lean for Sean, and obviously the under on the total games as well. Diego Schwartzman nowhere near the force he was. A match next up is an interesting one. I mean, you talk about motivation and talk about players questioning what they're like, their mindset going into this match, into this sort of stage of the season of the Asian swing. We've been asking that for about 4 months of the season now with Stefanos Tsitsipas. I mean, he's absolutely completely, his tennis career is going backwards at the moment. His love life and his Instagram career is going forward, but his tennis career is going backwards. He's the number 4 seed this week. He's up against Nicolas Jarry. Minus 230 is the price for Stefanos Tsitsipas. And if you'd seen his performance against Alex Molcan in the Davis Cup, you would not be rushing to bet Stefanos Tsitsipas at minus 230. Jarry here is plus 180. They have met a couple of times before. I watched one of their matches play. I was in Monte Carlo this year and I watched it, and Tsitsipas played reasonably well actually, and got through that match. But they've been involved in some long battles. 29, 19, 25, and 34 is the makeup of their total games. Their head-to-head is 2-2. Tsitsipas won in Los Cabos in the last match, in a very close match, and Halle on the grass. Jarry won, and also he won also on grass in Herzogenbosch. But this one here is all about total games for me. I think we spoke about one of these matches before between Jarry and Tsitsipas on a previous episode.
Yeah, we did.
And the total games were pitched at 26.5 that day. And we were questioning it. Today, they're the highest of the day, 24.5. It cashed on the over 26.5. Over is minus 115 and under is minus 109. I suppose the two questions here are, Tsitsipas's attitude, which is massive. And the second question we have to answer is these total games, because that's where the interest is on this match.
I think there's another question as well with regard to Tsitsipas. Is he even fit? As you've said, he's sort of struggled and continues to struggle since he won a pretty weak Los Cabos. He's done. You would have expected him to kick on and do something on the North American hard court swing, but he didn't. He's continued to struggle. Lost to Stricker in New York, lost to Molcan, as you just said, in the Davis Cup, which is losing to Molcan on indoor hard. I didn't see what kind of speed that service was, unless it was insanely slow. It's a bad result. And he only just beat Lucas Klein on a final set retirement as well. They split two tie-break sets him and Klein, and then Klein retired in the final set there. Then Tsitsipas withdrew from the Laver Cup due to injury. I don't think he specified what injury it was. So that may.
Do you think that I'm taking these injuries with a pinch of salt. I think he's fallen out of love with the game. I think he just wants to. I think he wants to jack it in for the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think he wants to travel the world with his beautiful girlfriend Paula Badosa and just have a bit of downtime and then come back for the Australian Open.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what that's the kind of thing
possible.
I just think he's just had enough of it for a bit of time.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there's certainly something not quite right there. I did hear a bit of tittle tattle that the two had split up, but apparently that was just a 1 day thing where both their photos and Instagram accounts have been wiped or something. So everyone immediately jumped to the conclusion that there were no more. And I think the last I heard in the Tittle Tattle Express was that they're back together and the photos have kind of re-emerged. But there may be something. I think they were at the Burj Khalifa. I think they were doing something at the Burj Khalifa the other day. But yes, his mind might not be on tennis. If we're taking it on face value, it may be the case that he is injured or slightly injured, and that possibly affected his performance in Davis Cup. And then he's just thought, I don't really want to do Laver Cup, or he could be using it as an excuse because he doesn't really want to play at the minute. I don't know. We don't know. But the other side of the coin is that Jarry played really well in his Davis Cup rubber with Chile. Won 2 of his 3 matches and should have won the other one as well. Had 4 match points against Sonego, ended up losing. So he's playing pretty well, certainly better, you would say, than Tsitsipas. If you look at the head-to-head of the matches that they've played on hard and grass, that's excluding the one that you were at in Monte Carlo. Jarry leads 2-1 win-loss. He leads the service points won, return points won totals by 101 to 99, so only narrow, but he still has shown himself to be slightly the better player over the course of 3 matches on hard and grass. And Tsitsipas stats since that last Los Cabos title win, 3-4 win-loss. He's only winning again. This is always the thing we say about him. He's not winning enough return points. 33% of return points won, and breaking serve only 13% of the time. And that's against the likes of Stricker, Molcan, Klein, a virtually retired Raonic, Monfils. It's Shelton, who wasn't playing well at that time, but did afterwards, and Hurkacz. So he's not played the elite of the game there in any means. He's just not. The return game just isn't functioning for him. It's a day match as well, so I think it's enough overall in this just to have a small play on Jarry. I think it's difficult with the totals. I'm never keen on these 24, 25, 26 game totals. It only takes one bad service game, doesn't it, for a set to be 6-3. And then you're out the window with that. So I've taken a small play on Jarry, who was plus 180 earlier with Bet Rivers.
Yep, still there, plus 180, Nicholas Jarry. Actually, when we look at, I think it's just changed while I've been on there. It's actually gone in a little bit. Plus 165, just changed as we were talking. I just saw the line. Is this office bugged? Has someone bugged me? We just, as we said, was plus 180. He's gone plus 165. I think Jarry plus 2.5 as well, if you want to be a little bit safer, because Tsitsipas can throw in a set pretty easy in his current mood, and I think Jarry gives him all kinds of problems today. So I really do like that play. The final match we're going to talk about again is another very intriguing match, a very interesting match. Daniel Medvedev, the number 2 seed, up against Tommy Paul. Medvedev is a heavy favourite, minus $4, up against Paul, who is available at plus 295. They met once before in the 2021 French Open. Medvedev won 3-1. Medvedev hasn't played since the US Open final defeat against Novak Djokovic. And Tommy Paul, after his run to the last 16 of the US Open, he hasn't had it at all well. He's played very poorly. Botic van der Sandschulp beat him in the Davis Cup. Ruusuvuori beat him in the Davis Cup. And then Ruud beat him at the Laver Cup. And he didn't even take a set in any of those matches. So this is an out of form Tommy Paul, who's had a long season. And Medvedev, nice rested up from the US Open. Can't see anything other than a Medvedev winner at -$4.
Yeah, I agreed. I mean, Paul doesn't look in a good place at the minute with his tennis. Something's not quite right, whether he's carrying a physical ailment or whether something's going on off the court. I don't know. He just doesn't look at it at the minute at all. Lost his way badly against Ben Shelton in that match that I watched in New York, and has done nothing since. As you said, lost to Van der Zandschulp, Ruusuvuori, also lost to Casper Ruud in Laver Cup. All those were straight sets losses. So since almost blowing a double break lead, well, he did, I think, blow a double break lead against Shelton in the opening set of that match at the US Open. He's only won one of the 9 sets he's played since then. So something's gone off with Tommy Paul, and now he's got what looks like on paper and kind of in the matchup looks really tough against Medvedev, who's coming here on the back of that run to the final in New York. They played once before, as you said, at the French Open. After a slow start, Medvedev won easy that day. Dropped the first set, I think, and then just raced through it. Tommy Paul only won 50% of his service points that day. So his serve was doing nothing. I can't see him outlasting Medvedev in many of the prolonged exchanges that there probably will be in this match. Not sure Tommy Paul has the raw firepower to hit through the Medvedev defenses on a regular basis. He's going to have to employ a bit of serve volley here, I think, if he's got any chance of beating Medvedev. Is he comfortable doing that? I'm not sure. I think he can do it. He has done it in the past. I'm not sure he's totally comfortable doing it, but I think he might have to, because I can't see him playing his normal sort of baseline game. And if he doesn't do that serve volley, I think he's going to struggle to hold serve. And unless he serves a lot better than he has been lately, he's not been serving well at all. So the lean here, Medvedev -4.5 games. That was an even money shot with Bet Rivers earlier on, or you could play the under 21.5 total games. Either way, it's a bet where I think Medvedev's going to win with a little bit to spare.
Yeah, both those prices still available. -4.5 on the spread is evens. Under 21.5 -121. 6 a.m. start. Remember, all these matches are through the early morning of Friday, starting around about 1:50 a.m. Eastern time, and the final match gets underway at 7 a.m. 6:30 a.m. With the Alcaraz match. There are some great matches. We haven't spoken. Rublev against Norrie, which is an interesting one there. We've also got Holger Rune against Felix Auger-Aliassime. We've got a pick on that. We've got Felix Auger-Aliassime to win the tournament. Nishi Okaya up against Zhang. We've got a pick on that match as well on Tuesday. So head to the Bet Rivers website, have a look at some of them. Evans against Yannick Sinner, and some really, really good matches on the first round. It's a great night of tennis betting, or early morning stateside of tennis betting in Beijing. Remember, it's the Asian swing here, so the scheduling is slightly different. I've said it a few times here, but I keep getting emails from people saying, where's the show? Where's the show on Sunday? Thank you very much that you're interested where the show is. But because of the timings and because of the way the schedulings are, while the tour is going on in Asia, we'll have shows on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we'll be back tomorrow to look ahead to Saturday's matches in Beijing and hopefully Astana as well. There's 2 tournaments going on this week. Not quite sure if that will be available with the scheduling, but we will have some tennis content tomorrow. But that will continue while the Asian swing is going on. And when we return to Europe, we're back to the traditional times of the Sundays where you get your future shows as well. So a little bit of a change in the format as we go on. And remember, all you have to do is download this podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. You have to just notify us when anything drops and you'll get notified. You subscribe to there and you won't miss anything. You won't have to tweet me. You won't have to tweet Sean. You just know yourself. And also you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios, little bell icon. Ring the bell, and that will give you a little notification when these shows come live. And obviously, follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well. Lots of great content on there. The Ryder Cup this week, some great picks from Simon Holden, who's looking ahead to the best bets on the Ryder Cup. We have the Premier League action, some big games in the Premier League, matches across Europe as well. And we also have on our Instagram page now, we have some correct scores where we give you our best picks on the correct scores. And last week, We had 4 correct score winners at around about 10-1 or bigger on the Instagram account. So make sure you follow the Instagram at Because We Win. We also like your questions. If you have any questions for myself or Sean, please send them through. I know Sean loves to answer your questions, but we haven't got any at the moment, Sean, but we usually get some nice questions. So if you've got any questions, strategies about betting at this time of the year, what Sean's going to do in his break, how many is he going to bus tour around Europe, all that kind of stuff. Get the questions in and we'll answer the questions as well. Sean, thanks very much for joining me. Just give us a recap of your bets for today, or for tomorrow, sorry, the early hours of Friday.
Yeah, so the official plays are Nicholas Jarry to beat Tsitsipas. I think you said that's a plus 165 chance now.
Just missed it, plus 165 now. And
the other one was over 22.5 total games at even money with Bet Rivers, and that is in the match between McDonald and Grigor Dimitrov. So there you go. 2 matches there. We have some other matches. If you haven't seen Tuesday's show, get on the YouTube channel, watch the show there. There is some picks on the first rounds there. Could be a good night for us. We had a good night to start today, and we're plus 7.28 units up for 2023. So in profit, that's all that matters. Take care, everyone, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow.